Jolly Roger RV Resort Review. Jolly Roger RV Resort is an 11-acre family owned park with 160 plus full hookup sites. All large RV spaces have 30 and 50 amp electrical service. Check in is at 1 p.m. and check out is 12 p.m. They have four categories of sites: interior, interior plus, premium, and seawall. They also have a few efficiency rooms available in the building next to the pool. The laundry and bathhouse are also in this building. They offer very reasonable rates on daily, weekly, or monthly stays, especially when you consider the amazing location. A few of the many amenities are free Wi Fi, which we ended up not using, rentable boat slips, heated swimming pool, dog park, laundry facilities, a very nice sandy recreation area, and daily site trash pickup. We ended up not using it because we couldn't get our act together before 9 a.m., but the walk to the dumpster was easy. Booking. I was absolutely stunned at the amount of RV resorts and campgrounds in general, but especially in the Keys that do not have online booking. I realize it's personal preference, but if I have to call to make a reservation, I'm not staying there. I heard so many good things about Jolly Roger in different places, but especially online. And Jolly Roger does have a solid social media presence. So, all that being said, why is the only place to book online on their Facebook page? It's not on their main webpage or their Google listing. Even considering that the booking process online was a little clunky, but no worse than usual. You can't reserve a specific spot, but you can make requests in the comments. I did make a request for a particular zone, but I completely understand why we weren't put over there. So it's all good. The nice lady at check in did notice that it was an online booking and asked how that was, and I said it was fine, I was happy with it, etc. She said it was new and they were still testing it out. I wish I'd thought to tell her that we wouldn't have stayed there otherwise because I think it's important. But I was too busy imagining all the situations in my head about how things could have gone so wrong. Like my reservation getting lost and things like that. But everything was 100% fine, and I had pulled up my online reservation several times before we left to verify things, and everything was all good. Arrival, check in, setup, and following the rules. We were running a touch later than we'd initially planned, but we were going to arrive somewhere around 4:30. I got a phone call from Jolly Roger at 4:03 with them checking on us and making sure that we were all good. And how long did we think it would be before we got there? I told them that according to the GPS, we would be there in 16 minutes. The woman on the phone laughed and she was very nice and told us she would see us when we got there. When we arrived, everything was ready to go and check in was very quick. She handed me my packet of information, asked about my online booking experience, and went over a few rules, including the statement: try to stay about a foot from the pad. It's tight here and we're pretty booked. Okay, great. Seems like a reasonable statement considering I haven't seen the sites yet, and that the standard for just about everything in South Florida is crowded with little space, especially during snowbird season. We pulled up to our unexpected pull through site, and despite the roads being fairly tight and the lots fairly narrow, it was bigger than expected because there were two nice trees in the middle and the roots were prominent, so it was a bit more wide to accommodate. Every campsite we've been to basically has you get as close to the power pedestal as you're comfortable with, and your space ends at the next pedestal, which would be about perfect when we put the stairs down. They would be about a foot from the concrete pad, so I directed Jay accordingly. Doing this also kept us well away from the trees so we didn't hit them while pulling in. Also of note was a power pole a couple of feet away from the trees. Nobody wanted to hit that either. There was an employee on a golf cart, and I noticed she was basically circling the roads in front and back of us, kind of like a shark. I immediately got paranoid because that's how I roll. About her third trip around, and about the time I got Jay about perfect in the sight, she stops and tells us that it's tires 1 foot from the pad. She wasn't mean or anything, just direct. And I respect that. To be fair, it does say on one of the papers in the packet that this is the rule. But at this point, I have not had time to read all the things in the packet. We were just trying to get parked. So I go tell Jay the situation and he tries to correct it. But we're already pretty much parked, and no matter what we do, we cannot get this thing lined up correctly. And now the neighbors have come out to ask if we need help parking our tiny 30-foot camper in a freaking pull through spot. So both Jay and I both immediately die of embarrassment. Please send flowers. Here's where I'm a little salty about things. When you follow the rules with the tires as opposed to the steps, you're basically shoved up against this concrete pad and your stairs are taking a significant amount of real estate. There's also a fairly large picnic table on site. You can move the table into the grass, but we have those trees and the roots make it nearly impossible to walk over. You're definitely not putting a table over those roots. And you can't go past your concrete pad to the side because the other side of your concrete pad is just about even with the next person's pedestal, and that's bad manners. We're just wasting about 6 feet of space that we would have had we just stayed where I had us originally. But it does explain why the seasonal lady on our pedestal side had her awning stakes past our pedestal. She was awesome, by the way. We were absolutely crammed onto this small concrete pad since we had the truck parked directly behind the camper. It was like musical chairs constantly with the five of us. We had to move the picnic table several times a day, depending on if we were eating or working or whatever. We did end up talking to the people on the other side, and they were fine with us putting our chairs past their pedestal on the back side of their site so we had a bit more room. But I still wasn't a fan of the situation. But rules are rules, and I'm nothing if not a rule follower, and Jay is even worse. The part that really irritates me, though, is that it really seems like this rule was not enforced for anybody else. So many other folks had done what we had originally done, and apparently nobody said anything because that's how they were the whole time we were there. Actually, that was the theme for most of the rules, especially ones regarding dogs in the beach area, tiki hut, and pool. It would have been awesome to sit in a lounge chair and watch the sunset with radar, but it's no pets over there. Shame that others can't follow the rules, though. We would have definitely spent more time in the public areas if we could have taken radar. If he can see us from the RV when we leave him, he barks, and that's a non starter. And I do understand why pets in the sand might not be great, but I just want consistency. Also, there's very little grass in the Keys since most of the land is basically coral. You see complaints about this constantly in all kinds of campground reviews. While I do mention it somewhat in this review, I don't think I'd go out of my way to knock a park for not having grass because that's just the geography. I will go hard if there are no trees or vegetation, though. Jolly Roger is on Grassy Key, which is part of the city of Marathon, and I have to say, Grassy Key is appropriately named. Jolly Roger actually has grass at their campsites, so I completely get the no rugs on the grass and things like that. It's a pretty big deal. So I feel like all the other rules made complete sense and were reasonable. That's probably my biggest criticism of Jolly Roger. I understand all the other rules, but I don't understand the reasoning behind having your wheels 1 foot from the pad. And then you add the uneven enforcement of the rules, and it just breaks my brain. Either enforce the rules or don't, not both. Sites. The property is beautiful. It is well maintained, and based on what I could see of other RV places, it is far superior as far as aesthetics. The neon lighting throughout the park is very pleasant and not at all overdone. The staff had decorated the property for the holidays as well, and it was very pretty. A Sun Outdoors property adjoins Jolly Roger to the south, and it looked like an RV parking lot from both the road and the water. No shade, all concrete. I'm sure it's lovely, but it's just not my vibe. Of course, I couldn't see the entirety of the properties and certainly only saw a fraction of them, but all the way down the Keys from the road, most campgrounds seem to adhere to the RV parking lot formula. And I'm sure that the state parks are awesome, but good luck getting a spot in one of those. We had an Interior Plus site, so I'll start with that. These sites are in several different areas of the property and are marked in orange on the map. They come in both back in and pull through sites. I had hoped to get one of the back in sites along the side with the dog park, but after seeing them in person, I think our almost 30-foot camper may have been a little too long for those spaces. We got a pull through site a good bit back from the water, but I'm not complaining. Our site had grass and shade, and there wasn't an excessive amount of people or car traffic. It was convenient to the pool, office, laundry, and restrooms if we needed them, and it wasn't too far from the dog park. The walk to the waterfront area was easy. It looks way further than it actually is when you look on the map. The interior sites are marked purple. I'm pretty sure they're all back in sites. The ones that are along the road seem to be long term residents and staff, and the ones backing up to those seem to be almost exclusively short term stays. The interior spaces that were in the middle and along the dog park side seem to have varying turnover rates, and the people seemed happy. The people who had pop up campers and tents were all placed along the dog park side. The premium sites are marked in blue on the map. If you have a larger rig like a toy hauler or a fifth wheel, you almost have to be in one of those spaces. The majority of them are pull through, but there are several back end spots down the side where the other resort is located. These sites have a larger concrete pad, are much longer, and I think they all have those fancy composite picnic tables. We would probably get one of those sites if we came back. The seawall or waterfront spaces are marked in yellow. Don't get me wrong, they're excellent spaces, but personally, I'm not sure I'd get one of those. Our neighbor, who was a returning guest, said the noise and foot traffic get to be a lot, but the worst part of it is the salt just plasters your rig, and that gets to be a problem long term. A short term stay would probably be best in those spots. And since everyone walks past those spots to get to the beach area, the tiki hut, and the water, there's not a lot of privacy. The sites are paved and have a composite picnic table as well. Other thoughts. The staff here are helpful and friendly. Whenever we had a question or needed a recommendation, they did their best to help. The office is nice and clean, and the small store has a good selection of items. I'm actually mad at myself for not going back and getting a t shirt. The location was great. Jolly Roger is very well located as a one stop place. We were about an hour from Key West and about 30 minutes from Isla Mirada, so it was easy to go just about anywhere we wanted. It was 10 to 15 minutes from a decent grocery store, but there's a marina store within walking distance if you need something in a pinch. Just be aware that you'll spend about 3 times as much as Publix. Georgie's Coffee is on the north side of the resort. good coffee, and excellent pastries. Be sure to get there early because they do a heck of a business, and when they sell out of your favorite goodies, they're out for the day. The guava croissant was my favorite, but the kids liked the Nutella and key lime beignets, which were about the size of dessert plates. Jolly Roger is very walkable. We walked radar several times a day, and we walked the trash to the dumpster nearly daily. The dog park is well maintained and easy to get to. You can walk or drive your kayak or paddleboards over to the launch pretty easily. I wish we'd been a little closer because I really started struggling when carrying my board back and I was tired, but the trade off there is that we had less traffic and more privacy. The pool and pool area were nice. The kids went swimming several times. It was very crowded at times, but that's to be expected. The swimming area off the seawall was easy to get to and access, but honestly, it was easier to get in the water from the boat ramp and then walk over to the swimming area, which probably is bad if the launch is busy. I didn't use the restrooms or shower areas, but the boys did, and they said they were good. The laundry room was actually kind of beautiful. Big, well maintained looking machines and very clean. Be advised that it's $4 a load and they only take quarters. I knew this ahead of time but forgot to bring a roll of quarters. $4 is 16 quarters, and that's a lot. We ended up not doing laundry there because of it. We knew our next place had laundry as well and was app or tap to pay, so we didn't sweat it or try to obtain quarters. But by the time we left Jolly Roger, we had 10 days of laundry for 5 people, and it was a significant amount of laundry. There were a few activities that you could find out about through their app or from a sandwich board sign by the Tiki Hut. The ones I saw were all for older adults, no specific kids activities, which is fine because although there were a fair amount of kids there, that's not exactly the key demographic. And I can't get my kids to participate anyway, much to my frustration. We were able to snorkel around the pier and went paddleboarding several times. We even spent a couple evenings watching the sunset with our toes in the sand. Like I said before, I really prefer the sites at Jolly Roger to most of the other places I saw. They had everything there from tents, pop up campers, and vans to massive fifth wheel toy haulers and similarly sized Class A luxury rigs. Everyone seemed to get placed just fine. We were actually between a very expensive Class A and a good sized Airstream. Across from us were rentals from RV America and some other travel trailers. Everyone seemed to fit in well, the rigs and the people. Sometimes when you go to a campground in Florida with your kids, you feel like you're not welcome or you're intruding. This was not the case at all at Jolly Roger. It was a wide sampling of people and everyone just vibed. Just wonderful. Overall, I would definitely stay at Jolly Roger again. I loved the sights, the rates were more than reasonable, and the amenities and location were excellent. The place definitely grew on me, and the kids kept asking to go back, so I'm calling it a win.